All right, you guys. Salute everybody tapping on in. Like, share, and subscribe as y'all come up in the building. Sorry, I hadn't really done any updates on this case in a couple days. I only wanted to come in here and talk to y'all when I really truly had something, and that's probably the only time I am going to really come in here if I really got something. And listening last night to Say No to Sco's channel, salute to him, man. He did a great interview with the Not Guilty boys, the attorneys over there in Dallas, man. Attorney Andrew Wilkerson and Michael Campbell. Last night during that interview, y'all should go check that out. They dropped a bombshell last night on this case, something that nobody else is privy to. And I'm gonna bring you guys that information, and I'm gonna bring you guys some other information that I just recently found out as well. And I have more information, pretty much explaining the scope of why a lot of things happen in this case. And when you finish hearing this, I pretty much have good news and I have bad news. It's all bad because the man's, he's 35 years. You know what I'm saying? I've already told you guys on this channel, I thought it should have been manslaughter at the most, being a situation, accidental, unalive, meaning that I don't think he intended to take the life of Austin Metcalf. But we're going to get into this right now because this is very important. So as you all know, there's been a lot of complaints about the and y'all let me know if y'all can hear me in the comments. Can y'all hear me? Hey, y'all give me the signal if y'all can hear me in the comment section. This is a live stream, so give me the signal if you guys can hear me. We're going to get right into it. There's been a lot of noise in this case surrounding the attorney for Karmelo Anthony. Even myself, I was critical of his attorney because I was just saying, hey, man, what kind of defense did he put on? But then I had to go back and think. And the things I had to think about, you guys, I listen to perspectives from all sides. I don't just listen to one side and allow that to affect my mind. I appreciate y'all in the comments. I don't listen to one side and allow that to affect my mind. I listen to all sides of the situation. I've listened to all sides of this case. And, it's some irreasonable people that's online, and it's reasonable people that's online. You have some liars online, and you have people that are honestly, invested in trying to find out the truth. But you have people who are just using this just to get paid, and that's sad. When you have a boy that's in prison for 35 years, and you have another one that's unalive, and that can never see his family, his life again, and you got people on YouTube out here clouting and all that other BS, that's just sad, man. That's sad, man. But it is what it is. Those two attorneys, they did an interview, and I want to play an excerpt of this interview because they put out some big information last night. These two attorneys, they have basically stated that they're the ones responsible pretty much for Karmelo Anthony getting his appeal attorneys. They stated, and I'm talking about the Not Guilty boys over there. They have a good podcast online, but also they have a great record down there in Dallas, Texas. This is what they do. This is right in their field. They have came out and stated that they gave Karmelo Anthony's family two options, pretty much two different ways to go as far as the appellate attorneys, right? And Karmelo Anthony's family, as we all know, they chose Russell Wilson in that side, right? Well, come to find out now, it has been announced by attorney Michael Campbell from the Not Guilty boys, right? He has announced that they are filing a motion to have the judge John Roach recuse H. Fisher. Sit down and shut the hell up when I'm talking. If you got a problem with it, take your ass somewhere else, dog. I'm gonna do my show the way I want to do my show. If you don't like it, take your ass somewhere else. Get the hell out of my chat. If you don't like it, I'll kick your ass out my chat. If not, respect it and shut the hell up. I'm gonna lay it out how I want to lay it out. If you don't like it, get your ass out of here. You ain't gonna come around here trying to patrol somebody else's channel and network. Just get your ass out of here right now. So anyways, as I said to you guys, they have came out and stated now, Attorney Michael Campbell, he has stated that not only, he has stated that Karmelo Anthony's new appeal attorneys are filing a motion right now to have Judge John Roach recuse himself from this entire case. Now, he's saying that Judge John Roach still has jurisdiction over this case 75 days after the decision, right? So that's why he still has jurisdiction over this case. But they're not only filing that, he gave the breakdown. Now, I'm going to play some of this audio from Say No to School. Y'all should go check out the whole interview after this stream is over with. But this is wild, right? I mean, this is some real new news that, this broke last night.
Ready to go right now. And from what I know, and I'm going to put y'all on some game scope.
Let's go.
They get ready to drop the motion for new trial. Yeah. They get ready to drop the motion to recuse Judge Roach. Okay. And that's a different avenue from the actual appeal itself. Okay.
I like it.
So you have an appeal saying that we feel that there was improper rulings and there should be an appellate review of the trial court's rulings and the transcript of this case. Then you have a motion for new trial, which is saying basically what I believe they're going to go. We feel that it was under Crawford v. Washington, there was ineffective assistance of counsel, and he's entitled to a new trial based on that. Okay, so that is being in the process of being filed. Those hearings will happen probably within the next couple of months, and we'll have some rulings. First ruling is whether or not Judge Roach is going to recuse himself or whether or not he's going to stay on the case. He still has jurisdiction as the trial lawyer up until 75 days after the verdict. Well, the verdict came out June 9th, so he still has jurisdiction over the case. Well, based on all the statements he made in the media after the case, I just saw some letter he wrote thanking all the Collin County for the mission accomplished. Sounds like some. But anyway, for the mission accomplished.
Yeah, we know what you're mission accomplished. Yeah. We did it. We did it.
Restroom attendants. I want to thank the parking lot attendants.
We did it.
We did our thing.
We did it.
I want to thank the clerks. I want to thank everybody. We did our thing. But anyway, whether or not he's going to recuse himself or be the one to be the presiding judge over the motion for new trial. Well, based on your statements, Judge, it seems like you've already showed your hand, right? And you can't give him a fair hearing at a motion for new trial. You probably should recuse yourself. If he doesn't, then the higher judge gets to pick an independent judge to have a recusal hearing. And they'll decide whether or not Judge Roach should be recused or not. If that judge decides that he should be recused, then the independent judge will do the motion for new trial hearing. If that judge decides that Roach stays on, Judge Roach will be doing the motion for new trial hearing. Okay? So, that's the law. That's the law.
That's right. That's a hard pill to swallow there, man. Yeah.
But if you don't get the motion for new trial, then he also has the appellate review with the Fifth Court of Criminal Appeals, and that'll be if they decide that there are appealable issues. And let me put this asterisk in there. There's only appealable issues if Mike Howard made them appealable issues by objecting timely in the trial. So I ain't seen the transcripts, but I know in the times where he needs to make objections to preserve the record for appeal, if he didn't make that objection, there's no appealable issue for Karmelo Anthony. So I know this great appeal scene that he has now is getting ready to comb through these transcripts and find all the appealable issues so they can put that in the appellate review.
Now, based off what he just said, it's time for us to go to work. Because I did some homework. Because it was more that was stated last night. And I'm going to tell y'all something. I have changed my opinion slightly on Mike Howard. After I did research, I stayed up all last night after I listened to that. I didn't get any sleep. I stayed up all last night because I had to do research. And I have a lot of research for y'all that I have to pass to y'all today on this situation. I'm going to tell y'all something. The research that I did, 100%, and you can go find this all yourselves, and I will give you where you can find this information. It's all in the files. It made me change my mind a little bit about Mike Howard in this case. Not a lot, because I still feel like he could have did more, and I felt like the not guilty boys broke down. They kind of explained how I was explaining at first when the whole verdict came down. I explained everything else I felt on this channel that should have been done. They were saying some of the same things, and they have a high not guilty rate. I mean, to get 17 out of 18 not guilty verdicts, those guys are good down there in Dallas. So I got to give them their props. But the big news that they said is that they're filing, his appeal attorneys are filing for Judge John Roach to recuse himself from this case. Now, here's the thing. They said something specific. They said that Judge John Roach has already came out and did media interviews, and so he has put himself in the realm of he felt like the verdict was correct. So how can you be bipartial now when you felt like this? And then when I went back, you guys, and I looked at the record, see, I ain't gonna come in here and just give y'all no fake news and stuff I just made up. I'm only gonna come in here when I got something real. When I went back and looked at the files and looked at the record, I'm gonna tell y'all something, man. I got more questions about the judge today, a lot more. And not only that, it's a whole new situation. If you smell what The Rock is cooking, it's a whole new situation going on with the mother, Megan, with the son, Hunter. Remember I told y'all over here, I said, why didn't they call Hunter Metcalf to the stand? The prosecution, that was very, very suspicious. I have a lot of information on that for y'all today too, because I went and I did, when they said something last night, and I'm going to tell you what they said. I'm going to tell you what made me go do all of this research. When they said last night that there was an email, matter of fact, let me show y'all this right now. When they said that there was an email, and they said in this email, this one right here, in this email, and I'll start right here, and y'all smash the like button, share the videos, y'all come on in. In this email, and see, this is why all this stuff right here to me, man, I was like, damn, bro, hold on, man, that's Larsa Pippen trifling ass. Hold on. All this stuff right here, let me put this on your screen. Matter of fact, let me make this bigger. Hold on. This right here, I was wondering, I said, yo, why didn't all this stuff come up in the courts? Now, for you guys who are questioning, this email is 100% real. It's not AI. It's not falsified. It is 100% real. And you know how I know? Because Austin Metcalf's mother, Hunter Metcalf's mother, admitted it. And I have her on tape. Now, this email, see, this was showing a complaint from the Memorial cheerleaders against the Metcalf boys for doing what? Well, let's read it. Concerns, coaches. The other cheerleaders and I have tried to make an effort to stay supportive and sprinted throughout the football season. Oh, no, inspirited, excuse me. So it says the other cheerleaders and I have tried to make an effort to stay supportive and spirited throughout the football season. However, the disrespect we feel coming from some of the football players is making it very difficult. Today, after our game against Liberty, some of us cheerleaders in uniform went to Canes. While talking amongst ourselves about the loss, Hunter Metcalf, remember, they didn't call Hunter Metcalf to the stand, and I said, something happened, the prosecution didn't call that boy to the stand, because if they would have called Hunter Metcalf to the stand, this is what you call opening the door. And when you call, so if the prosecution calls a witness to the stand, they cannot control the questioning of the defense. The defense can ask anything they want. But if the prosecution does not call Hunter Metcalf to the stand, that's Austin Metcalf's brother, Hunter Metcalf, then the defense, their questioning with him is very limited of scope. They can't really get into anything else. That's why they didn't call him to the stand, because if they would have called him to the stand, and let me say this again, if the prosecution would have put Hunter Metcalf on the stand, they'd have lost this case. And I'm going to tell y'all why. It says, this email, coaches, The other cheerleaders and I have tried to make an effort to stay supportive and spirited throughout the football season. However, the disrespect we feel coming from some of the football players is making it very difficult. Today, after our game against Liberty, some of us cheerleaders in uniform went to Canes. While talking amongst ourselves about the loss, Hunter Metcalf stood up and yelled that my friend and fellow varsity cheerleader is a fat bitch. I don't understand what triggers his rages, but to yell this unprovoked made us all really, and it goes on, made us all really bleep. I couldn't really make out what she said, right? But it says there is repercussions or some sort of consequence, so we stay out of it. But for it now to be directed towards one of the people that shows up to the game to support and cheer them on is astounding to me. After they left Canes, one of the other football players told us that Hunter said his friends or his hands. Listen to this. She says that one of the other football players told us that Hunter Metcalf said his hands was bisexual, implying that he would not only hit guys, but also girls. She is not only embarrassed, but genuinely scared, especially after seeing the way he can act on the field. I'm only coming to you because I feel that you should be aware that he is acting like this in the public places, which is not good for our schools' representation and is discouraging us to keep cheering them on. I'm sorry for having to even come to you about this, but after tonight, it truly feels like it's getting out of hand. I recognize that he may be upset and that we lost, but there's no justification for the way he treated my friend tonight. I would also appreciate for my name to stay confidential, as I fear what they would do if, and she went on to basically say if they found out. Now, let me tell y'all something. This was an email. Now y'all got to listen to what I'm saying to y'all. This email is 100% real. Metcalf's mama confirmed it. And not only did Metcalf's mama confirm it, y'all, not only did she confirm that this email is real, you guys, she responded to it. She was asked about it a few days ago. Megan Metcalf, the mother of Austin and Hunter Metcalf, was asked about this email. Now, as she was asked about this email, she admitted that her son Hunter had some problems. And I want you to hear what she had to say, because it gets into my next point, to what we talked about that lawyer, to what the not guilty boy said last night about this whole case. And when I tell y'all what happened, when I tell y'all what happened in this trial, and I have real information. I'm not coming here with no, I guess. I'm not coming none of that shit. I don't do none of that troll shit, none of that, what you say, dog? And bringing convicted sex offenders on my channel. I don't do that. That's not going on around here. But I want to say this to y'all, and I'm going to play what she said, right? So let's get into what the mother said, because the mother was confronted in a conversation. I think it was on TikTok Live. And the mother entered this live, and the mother answered. She answered. Now listen to this. She answered the allegations surrounding that was sent out on this email. Now you're going to say, why wasn't this email and these information put in the court? And I'm finna tell you why in a minute, and it's going to blow your mind.
That night and lost. Down in half.
Now, this is Austin Metcalf's mother right here talking about this situation.
If you know anything about the cheerleader email, we kind of talked to Brandon about it a little bit. He didn't go into too much detail because of his.
Boys,
he just said like kids were disciplined, and that's
yeah. So the incident was that we had played Frisco Liberty that night and lost, and we should have beat them because they hadn't won a game in like 3 years. So the whole football team was frustrated and upset, and Austin and Hunter were physically upset even at the game. Like, they got in trouble from the coaches because, like, Austin through his helmet. Hunter was the one that who's kind of more of like he would get more upset about things. He went back out on the field and finished the game. Austin was like, I'm done. He was just, there was only like 2 minutes left, and he was just pissed. He was just in one of those moods. But after the game was over, him and Hunter and I know for sure one other kid who was an offensive lineman went to Cane's to eat. The girls apparently were talking about the game and making comments about how crappy our team was. And Hunter, more than likely said something nasty to one of them because that's how he approaches things. And Austin just went over and was like, man, I don't understand why you guys got to be like that. Like, we're upset that we lost, and this is how you're not even going to support us. So there was not like a physical altercation. It was more of verbal of like, you guys are assholes for not, you're supposed to be First Memorial supporters, and you're acting like we're shit. And you're cheerleaders on top of that. So fast forward to the email that was sent. From what I understand, the coach had talked to Austin and Hunter about just what happened on the field the night before, and then the coach had sent the email, and Coach Jackson, who was our head football coach, actually told them, if you have a problem, you need to go to the police because it was off campus. And there was nothing he's going to do because it was off campus.
When will y'all come out?
Now, she's saying, the mom said, for you guys who really didn't understand, she said it was a situation. Now, this situation happened off campus, and she said that the people at the school didn't do nothing. They said, hey, if you got a problem, you got to call the cops because that didn't happen on campus. We don't have no jurisdiction. But the mom was kind of admitting that Hunter Metcalf has an attitude problem, right? Now, Hunter Metcalf was one of the ones that approached Karmelo Anthony. Why wasn't he called to the stand as a star witness, the guy who was standing right beside his brother, by the prosecution? We know why. But I'm going to tell y'all something that's going to blow y'all mind today. Because, boy, I stayed up all night on this one. So, the mother admitted that he probably did say these nasty things to this girl, right? Now, why would he allegedly tell the girl my hands is bisexual or say that to somebody else and that got back to that girl as well, right? These are females you talk about. So this shows you a level, right? So now you're thinking probably, well, damn, if they had this type of rep, why didn't this come up in court? Ladies and gentlemen, when I tell y'all what I'm about to tell y'all right now, when I tell y'all it's going to be some very upset people in here, and when I listen to the not guilty boys say what they said last night about the judge recusing himself, I'm going to tell y'all something. The good news is that they're filing for the judge to recuse himself from this case. Hopefully, if the judge doesn't recuse himself, and an independent arbitrator comes in and he votes that the judge should recuse himself, right? Hopefully that will happen so that they can get a new judge overseeing this whole situation. If not, Karmelo's screwed. And I'm going to tell y'all why. If he doesn't, like they said last time, if he doesn't get a new judge, they're screwed, man. The judge has already put out his opinion on this case. He's already did interviews. He's already let it be known. But I'm about to tell y'all something. The lawyer, I can't 100% blame him right now. If I blame him, I still give him 50% of the blame because I just don't think he did enough on the defense, and I think the not guilty boys broke it down how I broke it down from the very beginning. All you got to do is just go listen to my video the day the verdict came out, listen to everything I said, and then go listen to what the not guilty boys have been saying about how they would have approached every aspect of his case. I told y'all I'd have been up there for 2 or 3 weeks. Everybody listen to my channel. Y'all know what I said. Smash the like button. But I'm finna tell y'all this right now, right? This case was prejudiced. And I told y'all, Texas laws screwed over this case. And not only did Texas laws screwed over this case, because y'all know I stay in the paperwork. Not only Texas laws, but the ability of the judge to use these Texas laws to his advantage in this case. And a lot of the things that the judge did, the judge took power out of Karmelo Anthony lawyer's hand from the beginning. And I'm going to tell y'all why. And after I tell y'all what happened, you're probably going to change your mind, right? So basically, you guys, and we'll get right to this, all right? Basically, you guys, the judge, right? During the trial, Judge John Roach did not allow school disciplinary actions. Let me say this again to you guys. He did not allow school disciplinary actions, right? To be introduced as evidence. This is the reason. This is a big reason why you didn't get deep into this case. Let me repeat myself again. This is all in the paperwork. You'll see it when it all comes out. This is not me guessing or anything like that. This is factual information, 100%. Right? You're not going to see me bring convicted sex offenders on here to tell y'all stories, to tell y'all fairy tales and lie to you. I'm going to tell you the truth on this channel. During the trial, Judge John Roach, one of the main things he did was he blocked that school disciplinary actions could be introduced as evidence. Now, consequently, apart from that specific incident that the mother talked about right here with that email, right? There was no way for the jury to know anything in the history of these boys. Texas law is a mofo. And that's why Karmelo Anthony, he may be effed up the creek without a paddle, man. Right? Because they got 25 witnesses, including Karmelo Anthony's friends, who testified that he was the primary aggressor, and you can't reverse that record. Now, the lawyers stated last night correctly that everything that Mike Howard, the lawyer, objected to, those are things that you can go back in the record, the appeal lawyers, and say, okay, well, let's see if this is wrong. Let's see if this is wrong. Let's see if this is wrong. Let's see if this is a point right here, right? But the judge, from what I've researched and found out, he made it so hard to make anything appealable because, he cut out a big portion of this case from the shit he did, right? Let me break it down for you. Judge John Roach Jr., he blocked both Austin and Hunter Metcalf's school records from the trial because the defense could not legally establish that any prior verbal school dispute were relevant to the first-degree murder charge. Let me explain this to y'all. In Texas, and the judge knew this, and he did this from the very beginning. He struck this shit out. The fact that they didn't know each other, legally, they couldn't use their background. So let me tell you like this. They could have been a piece of you know what at school. They could have had a horrific school record and all of these things. It doesn't matter if it didn't have something to do leading up to this incident, which I think is complete crap. I think that your record, who you are as a person, and I think that shows your resume of how you act, and I think that's very important in these situations. But in Texas, that's not how it rolls. Karmelo Anthony's legal team had no way to legally establish that any dispute, including this one right here on your screen, that's in the email that the mama has came out and talked about and admitted to that situation happening, they couldn't use it in court. This goes all into the character of a person. They couldn't use it in court because Karmelo Anthony's lawyers could not legally establish that prior to that day at the track, that the verbal school, whatever situations that Hunter or Austin had, could be relevant to what happened that day at the track. So it wasn't a situation that led up to that, is what they're saying in Texas law. Texas law is disgusting, and that's Texas law. So basically, under Texas rules of evidence, you guys, a judge must balance the legal relevance of information against its potential to unfairly prejudice a jury or confuse the issues, meaning the exclusion of these records was based on several critical legal and privacy reasons. And I'm going to tell y'all something. So what does that mean? That means that legally in the state of Texas, the laws in Texas are also what hurt Karmelo Anthony more than even the lawyer, because the laws in Texas say I can't even use, if that situation that happened with them before doesn't pertain to me, I can't use that against them. Right? So he has a right to strike that from even being used. So from the very beginning, everybody was saying, well, why didn't they bring up their criminal history? The judge struck that from the very beginning. He used Texas law against Karmelo Anthony. He legally struck that. It wasn't illegal, but the judge knew what he was doing. He struck that so they couldn't use Austin or Hunter's background or record against them. That's number one. Because, first of all, there was a failure to meet the relevance burden in the state of Texas. To introduce a non-party's private school or disciplinary records, we're talking about Hunter Metcalf, the guy who was supposed to be the number one witness, right? Not the victim, but the witness, right? To introduce his private school or disciplinary records, Karmelo Anthony's attorney had to have formally proved to the court. He had to have proof of how those records directly related to this specific crime being committed in Texas. Now listen to this right here, right? The law is effed up in Texas, man. Because the incident at the track meet was evaluated based on immediate actions, physical threats, and context of that specific day, Judge John Roach Jr., right, ruled that the unrelated past high school, whatever may have happened, did not meet the legal threshold for relevance in this case. So any of these things that Austin and Hunter may have had on their resume from the school, from suspensions that they had them, to disciplinary actions that they had them, to these type of things, people who might have filed complaints about them if they had them, the judge eliminated that from the very beginning. That is 50% of your, that's 75% of your case right there, because you're showing the character of who these people are, and you're showing the capability of what they can do and why that will put a person in a certain mindset. If I could have came to court and showed you a million examples of where these dudes allegedly were bullying people, punking people, treating people like, threatening women, allegedly passing messages that my hands is bisexual, calling women FBs, fat Bs, and things like that, that would have changed the entire jury's mind. That would have, that right there would have made the whole jury say, hold on, these guys ain't no good guys. But the judge knew what he was doing. He struck that out. He knew under law he could strike that out the same way he did with those jurors. And I'm finna show y'all. So while we all blaming Karmelo Anthony's lawyer, when I looked deep into the files last night, I can only blame him 50%, because I was blaming him like damn near 100%, but I can only blame him 50% now because his hands was tied behind his back from that damn judge. That damn judge did a job in his case. And there was nothing that he could really do, because he could not establish that they were horrible people, because the judge wasn't going to allow him to use their past disciplinary record, if they had one, or any of these things y'all see on the screen, complaints about them or anything like that. The judge struck all that shit from the case from the very beginning, and there was nothing they could do about it. Also, you had the character evidence restrictions, where Texas rules, this is why Texas laws did them dirty. Texas rules of evidence generally prohibit, you guys, introducing a person's past bad acts or character traits simply to claim that they acted in accordance with character for that or during that new incident. So Texas have rules of evidence, right? And the Texas rules of evidence, what it says is that even if you're a piece of trash, you could be a horrible person and do all these nasty things, but that specific day, if you can't prove that those acts in the past had something to do with that day and that specific act, Texas law don't allow you to use it against them. So while we're screaming at the lawyer, Texas laws and the judge, knowing those Texas laws, use them to their advantage. Because, see, they just want y'all to think Karmelo Anthony was just some piece of trash. He was just crazy. He went in there, did that, and that was it. Nah, I knew it was more to this story. Also, check this out, y'all. Check out what I found out. Karmelo Anthony's lawyers, they tried to use those past school disputes, alleged disputes, to paint the Metcalf twins as aggressive bullies, which would bolster Karmelo Anthony's self-defense claim. But because Austin Metcalf is now deceased, RIP, and Hunter Metcalf was not the person that was on trial, Judge John Roach strictly limited that evidence to what occurred on that day at the track meet during that confrontation itself. See, I'm giving y'all real information today. I'm not coming here guessing and telling lies and saying fairy tales and making up videos and doing 1,000 videos every single day. My whole channel got 100 videos grifting off this board. I'm giving y'all real information. Also, the FERPA, privacy protections and legal safeguards, you guys. School disciplinary files are strictly protected under federal Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. That's the FERPA. When the defense, Karmelo Anthony's lawyers, see, I'm going to tell y'all something. Karmelo Anthony's lawyers got shut down at every point because of Texas laws. We all thought his lawyers just ain't do shit. What can his lawyers do if the judge used the law to shut their ass down at every point? Judge John Roach used the law to shut down every point of what would have been any type of viable defense for Karmelo Anthony. I'm going to tell y'all why. So the school disciplinary records, right, in Texas, right, they're protected under the Federal Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. Y'all can look this up. Don't just take my word for it. Go look all this information up. It's in the files in Texas. When Karmelo Anthony's lawyers issued subpoenas, y'all, for those records, right? The school district was legally required to notify Austin and Hunter Metcalf's parents. When they notified the parents, I'm finna tell y'all something real. This in the paperwork, nigga. I might just, and y'all know me, y'all know I keeps the paperwork. You know I keeps the paperwork. Smash the like button. In the paperwork, since they have that federal law, let me repeat myself again. See, I was out here criticizing Karmelo's lawyer, Mike Howard. I said, man, this man ain't do shit. Yes, he did. The judge blocked him. And we didn't know it. You know why? Because I had to go back and look at all the different filings in this case. And when them transcripts come out from the actual case, and when you look at all those motions and filings that I showed y'all earlier in this channel, you'll understand why. Listen to what I'm telling y'all right now. That Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act law, when Karmelo's lawyer went to subpoena the records of Austin and Hunter Metcalf from that school, the school district called the parents. They were legally required to call Megan and Jeff Metcalf. And guess what happened, you guys? The mother of Austin and Hunter Metcalf, Megan Metcalf, she officially withheld her consent as a legal guardian, prompting a formal legal challenge over whether the defense had the right to bypass those privacy laws. Also, you had ongoing safety and gag orders. The trial, it took place amidst several online polarized, I should say, doxing and swatting and unaliving threats, and it was directed at both sides, right? And so the judge, this is why I say the judge is shady to me. You used all that, oh, they got docs, it's safety reasons, this, that, and the third. You'll use it to your advantage, but you didn't use it to allow them to change venue. And let me say this. I found this out as well. Karmelo Anthony's his lawyer, Mike Howard, he filed for a move to a new venue. He did file for that. Judge John Roach rejected it. See, this is everything people don't know. And even myself, I criticized that man online earlier. He did that. I found out in the files he did that. Karmelo Anthony's lawyer asked for a new venue, and he was rejected. But that same Judge John Roach Jr., what he did was he used the fact that there was doxing, swatting, death threats, and all these other things going on with these two boys, which he should have used to move the case to a different jurisdiction. He used that to protect the privacy and physical safety of the Metcalf boys. He issued a sweeping protective order sealing those student records and barring the public identification of any of those other youngin' witnesses. And to the person who says Eddie did it, he did not do it. Karmelo Anthony did it. Karmelo Anthony is not denying he did it. Karmelo Anthony is saying it was self-defense. April, the lies have to stop on YouTube. Eddie did not do it. Karmelo Anthony admitted he did it, and Karmelo Anthony went to court and fought on the basis of self-defense. He didn't go to court and his lawyer say, oh, we didn't do it, somebody else did it. No, he went to court and admitted he did it. Go look, I've seen the paperwork. Maybe you haven't seen the real paperwork because you listen to people that's coming on YouTube that's trying to grift off the situation, that's doing 100 videos, trying to get views off this, and when their views run out, they're going to find something else to grift off of. This is why I haven't came in here and did every single video about this, because it wasn't something to tell y'all every single time. I waited till I had stuff to tell y'all. I ain't come here just make up lies, bring on sex offenders on my channel, and say any and everything. People just come on here outright lying about what they saw. I will never do that. You playing with a boy that's not here and another dude that's in prison for 35 years. I don't play that game. I only come in here when I got something real. And what I'm telling you is real. It's in a paperwork. I don't tell you this make believe. Oh, I think he took off his clothes. All this other bull, that's bullshit. Now let's get to it. Karmelo Anthony's new appellate team, you guys, are reviewing that trial record to challenge those evidentiary rulings for his appeal. Now, the trial judge, John Roach, maintained that a past high school arguments were legally inadmissible context for that attack, right? So the person said the transcripts aren't out. The transcripts ain't going to be out for a long time. The transcripts are given to both the appeal team and both the prosecution. The official transcripts are not coming out for a while. They might not be out for a long time. Now let's keep going. Where did that lie come from? People who clout chasing on the internet doing that shit for views and lying. Straight up. There are people who just lying doing that shit for clout. This is why when you had the not guilty boys going, the not guilty boys not even saying that shit. The two black lawyers, Andrew and Michael, they're not even saying that dumbass stuff people saying on the internet. They know that shit. They know that boy. They are fighting the self-defense. They're not saying, oh, somebody else did it. Listen to what these people. So when you hear people saying that they just doing that shit to make videos, make content, get y'all all riled up, and keep watching their channels, they don't have shit else that they bring into the game. Look how many views they're doing with that case versus how many views they did overall before this case. Nobody cared about them. So then you come do 1,000 videos, you getting all these little donations, all these people supporting, and you putting out lie, capping ass information. That's going to turn around and get you sued. Which is why when I find out something, I come out and tell y'all the truth. Because the truth always will set and keep you free. Point blank period. Right? Now, you may say, Ticket, well, the prosecution didn't call Hunter Metcalf. Why didn't the defense? I told y'all. It didn't make any sense for the defense to do it. And I'm finna tell y'all why right now. Being at the prosecution, they were smart. They knew that. Listen, let me tell y'all something. This is some dirty shit, yo. They knew that Hunter Metcalf's reputation won't clean. That's why they didn't call him. They would have called him as the main witness. They didn't call him at all. Because if the prosecution called Hunter Metcalf, this is what you call in legal terms opening the door. If the prosecution calls him, or if they call a witness, they cannot control the line of questioning from the defense. Do you hear what I'm saying? This is the same thing with the defense. This is the same thing with the defense. If a defense calls a witness, they cannot control the line of questioning from the prosecution on cross-examination. But if the prosecution does not call Hunter Metcalf, now it's baseless for the defense to call him because it's an only certain line of questioning that you can use. You can't go into his school history, alleged history, emails, or any of that information because good old Judge John Roach struck all that information from the case. So again, because Hunter Metcalf, right? And this was strategic why they didn't call, the defense didn't call Hunter Metcalf to the stand. I'm going to tell you why right now. Because Hunter Metcalf, y'all, was physically present at the track meet. He was a central figure in the defense's narrative and was officially placed on the trial's witness list. Now, he was on the trial's witness list. The defense, they could have subpoenaed or called him during this case, you guys. But the legal experts and the trial observers were saying, look, man, the defense avoided calling him for several reasons, which I'm going to tell y'all. First of all, the risk of having a hostile cross-examination. What do you mean, Ticket? Well, when a party calls a witness, right? So if a defense calls Hunter Metcalf to the stand, who is inherently aligned with the prosecution, right? Such as Hunter Metcalf, that witness is considered a hostile witness. While the defense would be allowed to ask leading questions, Hunter Metcalf's testimony would almost certainly favor the prosecution's case. So calling him would have given the state a free opportunity to cross-examine him and reinforce the emotional weight of Austin's death directly in front of that jury. Also, you had a high emotional impact on the jury. So basically, you guys, Hunter Metcalf, who had just undergone losing his brother, forcing a grieving teenager onto the stand to face intense questioning by the defense, could have severely backfired in front of that jury. It risked alienating the jury, making the defense look overly aggressive and insensitive to that whole situation, which could have negatively impacted how the jury perceived Karmelo Anthony and made them give him more years. Also, Karmelo Anthony choosing not to testify. The prosecution's initial plan was likely to keep Hunter Metcalf in reserve as a rebuttal witness, right? In criminal trials, the state often saves high-impact witnesses to counter specific claims made if the defendant, meaning Karmelo Anthony, would have taken a stand. However, because Karmelo Anthony's lawyers and his team and him decided that they didn't want to put him on the stand to testify, there was no testimony from, Karmelo Anthony for Hunter Metcalf to rebut. Also, the other eyewitnesses already covered the events, so the defense was already able to, elicit testimony from other students and eyewitnesses to try to establish their self-defense narrative. They called classmates who testified about those size differences between the teams and how the argument inside the track tent initially escalated because they could present their version of the chaos through other peers. They did not need to make take, I should say, the massive legal gamble of putting Hunter Metcalf on that stand, right? Now, ultimately, both of the sides, the defense and the prosecution, they decided that the risk of putting Hunter Metcalf on that stand outweighed the potential rewards. So both sides were basically in fear for different reasons of putting him on the stand, right? Now, here's the biggie right here, and this is what Judge John Roach did. Judge John Roach, by him striking out the fact that they could use all of these alleged prior incidents that may have went down with the Metcalf boy, Hunter Metcalf, him striking that out, right? Prevented the defense from even asking Hunter Metcalf about that. That's the reason why it was pointless to put him on the stand at that time. Because what a lot of us didn't know is the judge, from the very beginning of this case, he said, no, you can't use their records. And that's Texas law. So legally, if you come on and say, oh, the judge was doing this, the judge can come back and sue you for slander and libel. You know why? Because the judge is too smart. He know the law, and he knows that Texas law is full of shit, and he operated under Texas law. So anybody saying, oh, he did that, he can say, hey, you're lying. I use Texas law. Judge John Roach, a very smart guy. All that time on the bench for no reason, right? So lawyers are generally given broad leeway to ask questions on cross-examination. They're strictly bound, right, by the rules of evidence and the trial judge's prior rulings, which I told y'all about Judge John Roach's rulings. In this case, there were several explicit legal barriers, you guys, that blocked the defense from bringing up Hunter Metcalf's school history on the stand. And I'm going to tell y'all right now what it was. Number one, the pretrial ruling bound all testimony. Once again, before this trial even began, go look in the paperwork, y'all. The State District Court Judge John Roach Jr. issued a definitive evidentiary ruling blocking Austin and Hunter Metcalf's school and disciplinary histories from the trial entirely. That 50% crippled this entire case. An evidentiary bar applies to all forms of proof, you guys, meaning a lawyer, meaning Karmelo Anthony's lawyer, could not bypass Judge John Roach's orders blocking those physical school documents by simply asking a witness to verbally talk about the contents of those documents on the stand. So that was already thrown out the case from the very beginning. There was nothing he can do about it. The judge ruled down that from the very beginning. I told y'all, the judge did a whole lot. The only thing he didn't do was tell that jury they were sequestered the whole time. Think about that. He secured everything in that case. No cameras, no none of this stuff. Everything's supposed to be secure except for the jury. Y'all can go home every day. You know why? You go home, and guess what they'll do when they go home every day? You can listen to all the foolishness that was being said. Why would he sequester the jury if he was being so locked down on that case? That's a good question. But see, the fact that the judge didn't break the law, he used the law in his advantage. Whew, that's a cold game, boy. That's a cold game. That's a cold game. Also, Texas rules of evidence on bad acts. You guys can look this up in Texas Rule 404B. Look this up, y'all. Under Texas Rule of Evidence 404B, a party is legally forbidden from introducing evidence, you guys. I'm going to say this again. A party is legally forbidden. Texas Rule of Evidence. Look this up. 404B. A party is legally forbidden from introducing evidence of a person's past wrongs, crimes, or bad acts to prove character conformity. Essentially, you guys, to argue that because somebody acted like a bully in the past, that they must have acted like a bully during this crime, wasn't going to fly in court, in a legal court of law. The judge X'd it out. That's Texas law. He could do that. He didn't have to do it, but he did it. The defense, Karmelo Anthony's lawyers, wanted to use Hunter Metcalf's school past to show that he had a propensity for aggression to justify Karmelo Anthony's self-defense claim. The judge ruled that because that stabbing had happened, right, and had to be judged solely on that immediate physical threat that was present inside that tent on that day, that the past high school verbal arguments were legally irrelevant. So the judge struck it out. Also, strict limits on attacking witnesses' credibility. That's Rule 608. Look this stuff up. I'm giving y'all the rules so that y'all can't come in here and say, Ticket just coming on making up shit. No, I'm giving you the rules so you can look this up in the actual laws. That judge is a beast. He used all the laws in his own favor. So this is what the judge did. He disarmed Karmelo Anthony's whole team and told him, go ahead and go to war now. He disarmed his whole team before the trial even started. Told him, go ahead and go to war now. And I did it under the law. Go ahead and go under the war now. Go ahead and see what you got now. Basically, if a defense team, meaning Karmelo Anthony's lawyers, wanted to attack Hunter Metcalf or any other witness's character on the stand to damage their credibility, they must follow the Texas Rule of Evidence 608. Look that up, you guys. Texas Rule of Evidence 608. That Rule 608, strictly dictates that a lawyer can only inquire into past conduct if those specific acts directly relate to the witness's character or for truthfulness or for untruthfulness, such as past instances of lying or perjury. Allegations of school bullying, getting into verbal arguments, or being suspended for disrespectful behavior do not legally bear on a witness's honesty. Legally. Therefore, Karmelo Anthony's lawyers would have been blocked from using his school behavior to impeach him. That judge is smart as hell, boy. He used every law he could against them boys. And this is why you have to get the lawyers right the first time, because now he's sitting in there for 35 years. You got to overcome all this shit, because this is the law I'm giving y'all. Also, and Nick at Night does a great job. Oh yeah, Nick at Night. Nick at Night, she's reputable. I watch her channel. She's reputable. She do the work. She ain't on YouTube just I guess, I think, or Weaver Dirty. Nah, she really out there in the field. Shout out to Nick at Night. She doing a great job. I seen down there at the trial. With her daughter, she's doing a great job. Shout out to Nick at Night. Let's go to the next one. Intentional violation, risk a mistrial, right? So basically, if Karmelo Anthony's attorney had attempted to slide a question about school suspensions or bullying past, and the judge during a live examination, right? If you try to get this past that judge during the live examination, the prosecution would have immediately objected to that. The judge would have sustained that objection, you guys, and ordered the jury to disregard that question and heavily admonish the defense attorney for doing that. In severe cases, intentionally violating that judge's explicit evidentiary boundary to introduce barred prejudicial information in front of a jury can result in a contempt of court charge or trigger a mistrial. What does that mean? That means even if you push forward and in court, you say, well, still push it. If you push it, that could get that boy a mistrial or result in a contempt of court charge. Because now, once the jury's heard it, you can't take it back. They've already heard it. So that could severely prejudice their mind, right? So ultimately, because Judge John Roach Jr. ruled that Hunter Metcalf's past behavior at the school had no direct legal bearing on that immediate mechanic of that situation that day in the track, you guys, the topic was completely off limits for both the prosecution and the defense throughout the entire trial. Right? Now, the not guilty boys asked a question about Karmelo's appeal. They wanted to see the official record to see if the lawyer was objecting to a lot of things. Now, the judge, Lord have mercy, bro. This judge is a goddamn beast. He knew what he was doing with this. Now, from what we didn't know, Karmelo Anthony's lawyer, Mike Howard, he vigorously objected specific opponents of the state's case, most notably during the jury selection, right? But the way that the judge structured the trial's structural limits, it prevented Karmelo Anthony's lawyer from actively contesting many of the prosecution's witnesses on the stand, and that's going to hurt an appeal, and the judge know that. Right? So that's why you had a lot of legal analysts and trial records highlight several key areas where the objections were heavily utilized, as well as when the defense strategy kind of fell short, you guys. So the major challenge was the Batson challenge. That was about the jury selection. That's why I told y'all, as soon as this trial was over, go listen to my video. I told y'all the jury selection was going to come up with the Batson, right? Y'all know this is what I do. I do a whole lot of cases on this channel. So the defense teams, Karmelo Anthony's lawyers, most significant and legally pressing objections occurred before testimony even began in the trial. Mike Howard, the attorney for Karmelo Anthony, he leveled a formal Batson challenge against the state, vehemently objecting to the prosecution striking the only 3 potential black jurors from the pool. Now, while Mike Howard objected that the strikes were racially motivated, so Karmelo Anthony's lawyer said, hey, man, this is racist right here. These guys are getting these jurors out here because they're black. He did say that in court, and he vehemently argued that. The prosecutors successfully argued that a race-neutral reason to the judge, right, that they were educators. The individuals were educators. Not that they wasn't, that they said they was biased to Karmelo. That's a lie. Everybody who put that out said, oh, well, those jurors said that they couldn't be fair. That's a fucking lie. The judge used the fact that they were educators. But that judge is a slick-ass judge to strike them from the jury pool. And guess what? He legally could do it. Legally, the judge can do it. Legally, the judge can do it. That's sad. That's sad. To me, that's sad. Right? Also, the witness cross-examination constraints. Because the prosecution called a massive wave of student eyewitnesses who all cleanly testified to the same sequence of events. That Karmelo Anthony, they said, refused repeated requests to leave that team tent and actively escalated the conflict. There was little room for Howard to object to the facts being presented instead of interrupting with procedural objections. The defense had to rely on cross-examination to aggressively probe those witnesses for inconsistencies regarding whether Karmelo Anthony was surrounded before or after the stabbing occurred. Now, this is where I agree with the not guilty boys, those 2 attorneys. Man, I don't care what that judge say, nigga. We're gonna slow this thing down. I totally agree with them. I'm objecting to all this shit. Like, I don't care if you're gonna get mad. You can get mad at me. We could do whatever you want to do. And the fact that they're saying that he didn't have more objections because of the way they tried to control how that trial went, that's going to hurt as far as in his appeal, because it lowers the appealable issues. Because if he was objecting to certain things, those are issues you can go back and look at in the appeal process. The appellate lawyers, they look for all these type of things, right? So check it out, y'all. Listen to what I'm saying to y'all. This is what I'm saying, right? And to the person who said he didn't have to leave, he legally did have to leave. That's another thing y'all don't know. In the state of Texas, he legally did have to leave. That's the Texas laws are disgusting. I hate Texas laws. In Texas laws, under that tent, if one of the student leaders, which is why they showed that message in the court, where the coach told Austin and Rhett, you guys are the leaders today. If a student leader asks you to leave in the state of Texas, you have to leave. Now, they cannot put their hands on you, but you have to leave. And if they put their hands on you or push you or even punch you, let me repeat myself, in the state of Texas, even if they punch you, you guys, in the state of Texas, you still cannot use a knife according to the law in Texas. Texas law is crazy because I believe that a fist can be used as a lethal weapon. But in the state of Texas, you damn near have to have licensed hands, meaning a professional boxer or a professional MMA fighter. So a hard push or a punch doesn't, in the state of Texas, justify those means, right? But I feel like the not guilty boys brought up a great point last night in that interview with Scope. You also have to bring up the mindset and the mentality in that moment. You have to relate to the jury because jurors are regular people too. So you have to get that through to them. Like, yo, what was going through this guy's mind at that moment that he got pushed? And he's got these people around him. What went through his mind at that moment? The fact that he couldn't testify to say it? And that's another thing. I like what they said about that. We would have had him prepared for anything. So, and we would have brought so many character witnesses up there. By the time we had all of our character witnesses and everybody was going to bring up there for him, man, the whole jury would have forgot about all that shit the prosecution was talking about. I like what they said. Because you do have to play that. You have to remember that the jury are normal people. The jury are not legal minds. The jury are not people who practice law. They're everyday, normal feeling people. So when you're a lawyer, you have to, and this is the reason why guys like Brian Steele, the not guilty boys, some of these other guys, the late great Johnny Cochran, these guys, they were so great of lawyers because they could relate to the juries. They knew their work, they knew procedures, and they could relate to those juries. They knew exactly what the points they needed to hammer home to the jury to place reasonable doubt. They knew how to talk to these juries. See, these are the parts where I felt like Karmelo Anthony's lawyer came up short, right? Now, check this out, y'all, and y'all, this gonna make y'all even more mad. The pretrial rulings reduced the active courtroom battles. The judge, once again, many potential courtroom objections, you guys, were entirely neutralized before the trial even started because Judge John Roach had already issued definite rulings. He issued definitive rulings before the trial started. For instance, since the judge had blocked out the Metcalf twins' records, their school records and prior disciplinary record, the prosecution never brought it up. They never brought them up. This meant that Karmelo Anthony's attorney, Mike Howard, did not have to constantly object to protect his client from that narrative during active testimony. Right? Also, the criticism of the defense's penalty phase strategy. I was critical of that too. That's another thing I put on the lawyer. Right? Right? The defense team, they got very highly criticized, Karmelo's team, for the severe lack of preparation and proactive objections during the penalty phasing. Because what's the difference between the penalty phasing, y'all? Okay, you've already been found guilty. Now we get into this penalty phase. It's like a whole new trial. Bro, you had to be ready for, bro, you're supposed to have 50 witnesses coming up there. You're supposed to have everybody and they mama coming up that joint saying, hey, man, this is a good dude. That man only had his mama and they was out. That's insane. That's insane. He only had that boy's mama go up there and say, boy, you should have had the whole community up there. I would have had Aunt T, Aunt B, Aunt C, Aunt D, the Reverend. I would have brought the whole goddamn South Texas Missionary Baptist Church up that joint as character witnesses for that boy. I would have had so many witnesses come in there, like them boys said last time, the whole jury would have forgot about everything else. They'd have been like, hold on, man, we can't just. But all you had was his mama? That's it? That goes on the lawyer. So that's why I still keep blame with him. But that damn judge, y'all, that damn judge, man, that dude is something else, man. Real talk. Now, I want to get into this, you guys. And that is the President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump. Donald Trump, you guys, in a shocking set of moves, a judge has ordered that Donald Trump's Department of Justice release the Epstein files covering the unverified allegations against Trump. Oh, yes, they have. It's about to get real funky, y'all. A federal judge delivered a sharp rebuke against the Justice Department, ordering it to either release the unredacted versions of key Jeffrey Epstein documents, you guys, or prove the legal justification for keeping them blacked out. And he's given the government until the 2nd of July to comply. They got until July the 2nd to comply. U.S. District Judge Emmett Sullivan, his orders covers several significant files, including 8 emails with either the sender or recipient redacted, a draft indictment listing potential co-conspirators with the names obscured, and a 2019 email referencing multiple co-conspirators whose identities remain hidden, you guys. Judge Sullivan also ordered that the Department of Justice release interview notes behind the FBI documents summarizing these allegations against the President Donald J. Trump, or they must explain why they won't. The government was required to release a log of every redaction it has made as mandated by law. Among the documents at issue is an email in which Jeffrey Epstein refers to a quote-unquote torture video, one that drew bipartisan scrutiny earlier this year when Republican Thomas Massie and Democrat Republican Ro Khanna publicly questioned why that recipient's name was blacked out. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche later suggested on social media that the recipient was Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, former CEO of Dubai-based logistics firm DP World. That the ruling stems from a lawsuit filed by independent journalist and legal commentator Katie Fang, who accused Blanche of improperly redacting documents the government was legally required to release. In a 48-page opinion, Sullivan concluded Fang had the right to sue and was likely to prevail on the merits, writing that Blanche had effectively conceded her arguments by failing to respond substantively to the judge's deadline. Sullivan also denied the Department of Justice request for a 7-day pause to consider an appeal. Fang's attorney, Brenda Balu, said the government thought that it could ignore its own law and blow off a judge's order, all for the sake of protecting the very powerful and the rich. The Department of Justice pushed back hard. A department spokesperson called Sullivan's interpretation perverse and accused the judge of driving misleading headlines, arguing that the redactions protect victims who sadly became co-conspirators. The department said it plans to appeal. The controversy comes after millions of Epstein records have been made public since December, but the Department of Justice has said only about half of the roughly 6 million pages it collected would be released, with unreleased documents described as duplicates, legally privileged or unrelated to Epstein. Survivors and lawmakers have questioned that rationale, and with billionaire Leon Black subpoenaed to return before the House Epstein panel and congressional scrutiny intensify, the fight over what the public gets to see is far from over. Basically, Donald J. Trump is on the clock, and the DOJ has now been ordered to release those files that have those other claims against the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. They say they're unverified claims to the FBI, but what could be these allegations that the whole world hasn't seen? What could be in those allegations against Donald Trump? We've already seen the worst of the worst. Could it be even worser? Allegations that were redacted against Donald Trump? It seems like this is going to get very ugly because only half of the files have been released. And a lot of them have been redacted, and a lot of them have been held back. But now the judge says, no, you must release them all. And you must unredact those files. And if you don't, you had better give a damn good legal reason why you didn't. The clock is ticking. Now, they can try to drag this out in court and fight this as long as they want. But the truth is always going to come out. It's always going to come out. It always finds a way of coming out. In this case, it's no different than others. The truth will find a way to leak itself out in front of the world. And I truly believe this. And I truly believe that this is one of the cases where, by hook or by crook, we're all going to find out all those other names that have been redacted in the Epstein files. Because this has been ruled by a judge now. The judge has ruled this, so they have to do it. Now, they'll try to appeal to delay the process. It's not going to work. They have until the 2nd of July. That is 2 more days. 2 more days to tell the judge what the hell is going on. It's true. Oh, yes, it's true. Donald Trump. Well. Let's talk about Kanye West. It's Kanye West, you guys. There was a woman, and I told you guys about this woman on my channel. And we talked about this woman and her allegations against Kanye West. This woman, she had extensive allegations against Kanye, right? This is one of the women who used to work with him, right? Her name is Lauren, right? Her name was Lauren, right? Let me get that off your screen. Now, she basically had accused Kanye West of drugging and assault at a studio session. She alleges that prior to her formal employment, that Kanye West invited her to a Santa Monica studio session co-hosted by none other than Sean P. Diddy Combs. She claims that she was given a drink laced with an unidentified drug on the Kanye West orders, and woke up with no memory of that night, and later learned from Kanye West that they had quote unquote hooked up. When she stated that she could not remember, Kanye West allegedly laughed and said, "Women love to say they don't remember." She alleges that during the recording sessions for the album Donda, Kanye West entered her hotel room, demanded to use her shower, and emerged naked. She says he then allegedly forced her to give him sloppy toppy without her consent. She also alleged that Kanye West attempted to put the beefcake in, put his fingers in places during her time working for him. She claimed that during a chance encounter at a Post Malone concert in November 2022, after she was fired, that Kanye West grabbed her by the throat, squeezed her neck, pulled her aggressively towards him, and forced his tongue into her ear. She claimed that Kanye West bombarded her with vulgar text messages, explicit sexual fantasies, X-rated videos, photos, and memes. She alleges that Kanye West choked his chicken while talking to her on the phone. She also claims that Kanye West trapped and locked her inside a private room on his airplane and choked his chicken in front of her until he fell asleep. She also states that Kanye West forced her to watch him engage in sexual acts with other women at the Yeezy offices, including his current wife, Bianca Sensory. She also claims that she was tasked with coordinating orgies and delivering sexual enhancement products for Kanye West. She also alleges that Kanye West offered her to another individual for sex in exchange to secure sex with that person's significant other. She also includes sex trafficking counts, alleging that Kanye West used fraudulent promises of career advancement in music and fashion to coerce her into compliance, and she claims that he trafficked other women into the U.S. under obscure job titles to offer them to his friends as quote-unquote gifts. She alleged that Kanye West exposed employees to severe racism and anti-Semitism, right? Or anti-Semitism daily. She said that he routinely used those type of anti-Semitic slurs, interrogated workers he suspected were Jewish, and demanded that his assistants draw those S words in the workplace. You know that symbol, yeah. Right? She says she was hired in 2021 as an executive assistant for $1 million a year. She claims that Kanye West later demanded that she become godlike and delete her OnlyFans account. He allegedly promised an additional $1 million a year to offset that loss, which she claims that he never paid. She also claims that she was promoted to chief of staff in September of 2022 with a promise of $4 million salary. After being abruptly fired a month later, she alleges she was promised a $3 million severance package, which Kanye West didn't pay. She also claimed that 6 days after she filed her initial June 2024 lawsuit, Kanye West orchestrated dangerous swatting hoaxes at her Florida home. Police arrived in armed raids, responding to a false emergency reports that she had unalived her mother and was engaging in child abuse. She also alleges that she received threatening phone calls warning her that she would not prevail against Kanye West. She also claims that Kanye West deliberately moved into her apartment complex after her termination to intimidate her, forcing her to relocate out of state. And now, ladies and gentlemen, after all those allegations and this whole case had been in the process, in the court filings, Kanye West has now agreed to pay this woman. He has agreed to settle with this woman who officially had went into hiding after those claims. According to the reports, Kanye West is moving towards ending his legal battle with the former assistant Lauren Piscota. Her attorneys and his attorneys told a Los Angeles judge yesterday that they reached a settlement in principle for her sexual harassment case. The deal marks a major shift in what's become one of the most contentious employment disputes involving Kanye West in recent years, with her allegations spanning from inappropriate texts, I told y'all, exposure to sexual acts and things like that. So Kanye West, this woman has won her situation basically, and Kanye West has paid this woman. He has settled to pay this woman. And here's the thing. The crazy part about it is Kanye West, bro, he never know if the feds is investigating him. They trying to take this shit up. I don't know. I don't think that they like Kanye. So I believe that they could be potentially looking at Kanye West, because I don't think they like Kanye. They've already tried to ban him from everywhere around the world anyways. He only been allowed in a couple places. So I've already had the thought process that they've been working on Kanye West secretly. See what I'm saying? So we'll see about that and how that pans out, right? But Kanye West, you guys, he has paid this woman. Now, you guys, we have a unbelievable claim right now involving Beyonce Knowles Carter, the wife of Jay-Z. Now, according to the reports, you guys, Uganda's military chief has threatened Jay-Z with violence. Let me repeat myself again. Uganda's military chief have threatened Jay-Z with violence in a bid to make Beyonce his wife by force. According to the reports, it says that Jay-Z might want to reconsider any plans to relocate his family to Uganda after the military chief's recent social media tirade. It goes on. General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, who leads the Uganda's armed forces and is the son of the president, Yoweri Museveni, posted a series of X messages declaring his intention to marry Beyonce and challenge Jay-Z to a combat over Beyonce. And he wrote, "I'm giving Jay-Z 1 week to surrender my wife to me, or else I take this matter to the UN." General Muzi Kainerugaba, Uganda's chief of defense forces. The general's threats represent serious diplomatic concern that extends far beyond typical celebrity gossip. His statements included explicit demands that Jay-Z surrender Beyonce, his wife, with the alternate being a physical confrontation in Uganda, where the winner takes Beyonce. He also boasted about his wealth, claiming ownership of thousands of Ankoli cattle, made him wealthier than Jay-Z. The general even suggested that he escalate the matter to the United Nations, signaling how serious he intended these remarks. Right? This isn't his first controversial outburst. In 2022, he claimed Uganda's military could capture Kenya's capital, Nairobi, within 2 weeks, forcing Uganda's government to apologize to Kenya for the inflammatory remarks. Later that same year, he proposed paying bride price in Ankoli cattle for Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, a suggestion her office quickly dismissed. In 2025, he ordered female soldiers to wear skirts instead of trousers during military parades, threatening commanders with disciplinary action if they refuse. Meanwhile, Jay-Z and Beyonce have been exploring international real estate opportunities, though not necessarily in Africa. The couple has been eyeing a property in English Cotswolds, where they're reportedly in the final stages of purchasing 58 acres in Oxfordshire. It says the couple has no current plans to relocate to Africa, but their international expansion strategy demonstrates their interest in establishing residence across multiple continents. So this is wild, bro. This dude told Jay-Z, "Hey man, yo, you give me your wife, nigga, we gonna go to war." Bro, them dudes in Africa don't be playing either, man. I don't think Jay wanna go down there messing with them cats, man. Like, this dude said I'm richer than Jay-Z and all this stuff too. Bro. Bro, it be like that though. Y'all don't understand, man. Down there in Africa, man, they ain't playing. Y'all think them cats playing down there in Africa, man? Go down there in Africa, mess around and find out. They not playing down there, bro. They serious about this. But I'm pretty sure Jay-Z serious about, I know he's serious about his family. So, It ain't gonna. I don't think it's ever gonna be a situation where he get mixed up down there. You know, I don't see Jay-Z going down there. Not like that. Ew. Guy talking like that, no dice. And he's a high-ranking official talking like that. Boy, unbelievable work, you guys. Also, I want to talk about this situation with Roc Nation, you guys. As Roc Nation is suing its own insurer over the CEO's nasty family war with the daughter. Now, you guys already know this whole Marie Hadley, right? Now, let's get into this. Roc Nation, according to the reports, is now fighting its own insurance policy company in court. And the family war that started it all traces back to Desiree Perez's daughter, accusing her of having her forcibly commit to a psych ward to destroy her image. Desiree Hadley sued her mother in May of 2025, claiming that Desiree Perez weaponized Florida's Baker Act and Marshman Act to have her locked in a psychiatric facility for nearly 2 weeks against her will, all to separate her from her husband, Javon Hadley. Demaree's drug test came back negative throughout the detention, according to NBC Miami. And she accused her mother of hacking her devices, fabricating domestic violence claims against Javon, and using money and industry influence to run a coordinated campaign against her family. Now, Desiree Perez has denied every allegation and has filed her own lawsuit against Javon, claiming he abused Demaree for years. The insurance fight has its own twist. Roc Nation spent months in court successfully arguing that it had nothing to do with the family dispute, and a judge dismissed the company from Demaree's case with prejudice in October of 2025, as you guys can all see, right? It says on that exact same day, Roc Nation's agent filed a claim with New York Marine and General Insurance Company demanding, right? Demanding, you guys, the insurer cover Desiree Perez's entire legal defense. New York Marine pushed back with a denial in March of 2026, then filed its own preemptive lawsuit in April, arguing that Desiree Perez wasn't acting as CEO when any of the alleged conduct took place, so she didn't qualify as insured under the company's commercial liability policies. Now, Roc Nation has fired back in New York State Supreme Court, accusing New York Marine of breaching that contract, bad faith, and violations of New York's consumer protection law, seeking at least $500,000 in damages plus punitive damages and attorney fees. The filing covers Roc Nation, Desiree Perez, and Roc Nation employee Natalie Anderson as named insureds under two policies the carrier issued to the company between November 2023 and September 2024. Reed Smith LLP is leading the charge for Roc Nation. The Florida case itself keeps escalating. On June the 18th, Desiree Perez filed a motion, you guys, asking the courts to dismiss Demaree's lawsuit entirely and shut down her social media accounts, accusing her daughter of running a coordinated influence operation through bloggers, bots, and an X account called Demaree Docket to violate a standing gag order and pursue a settlement. Jail calls allegedly recorded Javon saying, "We're going to make her settle. It's a payday." Trial is currently set for November the 16th, 2026, you guys. So that's going to trial. Man, there's so much stuff going on, man. And to see all these different things that's going on right now, now they got them suing the goddamn insurance company. Wow, bro. Wow. So we got to see how this pans out, man. It's a lot of different things that's going on behind the scenes, man. Just legal stuff going back and forth. And we're going to see how all this stuff pans out, you guys. This is a very interesting situation. This is an entirely interesting situation of events that we've seen going on lately, man. And so all I can say is just strap up, man, because it don't seem like this stuff is ending no time soon. They're going to court November the 16th. We're going to follow that case because I want to see how this all plays out, you guys. So y'all definitely let me know what y'all thinking. Definitely let me know what y'all feeling. And definitely let me know what y'all on. I appreciate all you guys that's in the building, right? So much love, honor, and respect to everybody that's gonna pop up. You know what I mean? And salute to everybody that's in the building. Y'all already know what it is, right? Like, share, and subscribe. Y'all know what time it is, man. Hey, we always appreciate the support, and if you guys want to do so, you can use the Cash App or PayPal links. They'll be in the description box below this video or pinned at the top of the comments. The top donators will be announced every month. All right, you guys, hope y'all enjoyed the video. Like, share, and subscribe. Make sure y'all cop the merch, and make sure that you get the weight loss formula. The links to that will be in the description box